All right. Look, we are live. I think I need to adjust the camera a little bit. I think we're a little too zoomed in. There we go. I feel like it was just right there in your face, but that's okay. So anyway, this is a weekly live broadcast. This is pretty much every Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Central. This is where I am. If you're waiting to get questions answered, you got something you want to talk to me about, this is a great place to do that. You can come in here. I do my best to respond to every chat that comes in during the live broadcast. We talk about whatever you want to talk about. It does not matter to me. If you want to talk about controversial topics like religion and politics, I don't care. The only things I ask is be polite, be family friendly, don't be hateful with anybody, don't call anybody names or be rude. We can have a good friendly debate. Just don't start cussing anybody, calling names, any of that kind of stuff. We can have differences of opinions and still be friends. So, with that being said, let's jump into it. We got a couple of people here. We got Dawn says, looks like I'm first tonight. I'm early too. Well, thanks for joining tonight. I appreciate that. And showing up early, waiting on me. Andy Rabbit's here, says hello to Dawn, and then wants to know how everybody's doing. So, hello to you. I'm doing well. Hopefully you are too. And we got Dawn saying hello to Andy. So we got two people interacting right now. Not a whole lot for me to talk about just yet. I did not get a video out this week. I had some family. My sister was in town, so I spent some time with her. They have moved to North Carolina a while back, so spent some time with her this weekend. We just played some games and had some family time and stuff, but I didn't get a video out. I'll do better this week. Chester says, good evening. Good evening to you, Chester. Good to see you. Buck Reynolds from Oklahoma. Good to see you, too. Thank you for joining. Appreciate it. All right. That's it. That's all the chat. So I guess we're done. No, I'm just kidding. I'll wait till the chat catches up to me. This is the time where I'm always saying I should have some kind of topic planned out to talk about because I don't, and we just fill the dead air or the dead time. Well, I'm waiting on the chat to catch up to me and give me something to respond to with nonsense. I just babble on for a little while. Farmer Marshall is here. Good to see you. Says, hey, folks. So saying hello to everyone. Don says, I got chiggers last night. I sprayed for poison ivy and was in some tall grass. I didn't get them in the yard. Poison ivy. Wait a minute. You didn't get them? Wait. Oh, you're just correcting the spelling because you got an extra I in the poison. I didn't even notice that. Okay, so yeah, you got the chiggers. You were in tall grass. You sprayed for poison ivy. I'm assuming you sprayed poison ivy plants to kill them off. That's what you were doing probably in the tall grass and got chiggers. Chiggers are the worst. I don't know if they're everywhere in every part of the country, but they are absolute worst. You don't see them. Yeah, I mean, they just afterwards, you're like, what in the world happened? And you're just all tore up, all from head to toe with little bitty bumps and bites from these little bugs. But that's not fun. I know how that goes. Joy Guthrie says, hello all from Western Oregon. Andy Rat, well, hello to you too, Joy. Good to see you. That reminds me of something, though. I'll run this by you guys because I thought this was strange. Talking about chiggers. So I was watching, there was a newscast the other day. They were talking about like tick-borne illnesses and stuff like that. They said that this year and that they've seen, it was like the most people for the last 10 years visiting the ER because they had a tick. Who in the world goes to the ER for a tick? That just seems crazy to me. Who goes to the doctor when you get a tick? I mean, unless it's like, the bullseye rash or something like that going on afterwards, why do you go to the doctor for that? It just doesn't make any sense to me. I can't imagine that many people. There was a ton of people that go to the emergency room because they had a tick. Crazy. Andy Reb says, I'm going to drop home. Hopefully I get there quickly. What? You're going to drop home? I don't know what's going on here. I'm guessing you're not home. So you're going home? I don't know what you're saying exactly, but hey, there's Joy. I don't know if I said hi to Joy or not. I think I did, but either way, hi to you. Kiernesy says, morning, Chris. My quail are nearly 2 weeks old, doing great. Well, congratulations on the new hatch. Glad to hear that they're doing well. Let's see. Where are you at again? Are you in Australia? Because it's your winter time. I don't know what your weather's like there. But, usually by about 2 to 3 weeks, I've got them weaned off the heat. And by 3 weeks, they're out in the outside hutches. But that's summertime here. It's usually pretty warm, so it's not really much to acclimate them to that heat. Don says, I don't get them at home, but this time I did. Yeah, I mean, any kind of tall grass. I get them out in the back lot every once in a while, and it's not even that tall right out there. Never that bad, but just every once in a while. Joy says, never had chiggers, thank goodness. Yeah, it's just part of living, being out in the country at all, or in tall grass, like you said, because I'm not even in the country. I'm just my backyard. Sometimes I get chigger bites from there, and it's never that bad. I mean, when it's just a couple of them, it's not that big of a deal. It's whenever they just swarm you that it becomes a big problem. Let's see. Freight Holler says, hello, everyone. Checking in from Citrus Springs, Florida. Chris, have you ever fed your quail comfrey? I have not fed them comfrey. I don't have any growing here. I got some root stock, it was years ago, and it just didn't take off, so I don't have any growing. Don says, I thought they were mosquito bites, one at a time popping out. Then when I got one on my jeans waistband, I jumped in the shower again, LOL. Yeah. Yeah, that's where they always get me, is on my waist. It seems like when I was a kid, it was bad. I mean, I just really got them bad. But now it's not nearly as bad. Lone Wolf says, I know Lyme disease is up a lot here in Ohio, people and dogs both. Yeah, and I wasn't saying I know Lyme disease is a serious thing. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go to the doctor if you think you've got, some kind of illness. But man, if I went to the doctor every time I got a tick bite, I'd be out of money. I mean, it was just a daily occurrence when I was a kid. You just check for ticks when you come in, Anyway, Jojo says, how many breeder groups do you keep together in one pen? Talking about quail, really just as many, as many as you want, honestly. In mine, I typically run in 3 males and, like 15 hens, something like that. So what's that, 3 breeder groups, 3 sets of 5 hens and one rooster. So roughly like that, but you can, however many you want, really, it doesn't matter. Dawn says, after 6 weeks, you got it, and it stays in the body for life. Talking about Lyme disease, aren't you? Yeah, I'm glad. I've never had it, honestly. Thank goodness. Thank God. I've never had that. I think just as bad would be the alpha-gal syndrome that's going around now, where you can't eat anything, any kind of animal products. That would be just horrible, too. And, I'm not trying to make light of that whenever I, make fun of people for going to the doctor for a tick bite. But, it just seems, I don't know, a little overkill. Caesar says, hey, all. Hope all is well. Doing well here. Hopefully you are, too. Kirsty says she's in Australia. She, I don't know if you're he or she. Says, in Australia, I'm in Canberra. Wintertime, still getting below 0 Celsius of the morning. Yeah, it's a little chilly, isn't it? 0 Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's pretty chilly. They may need to stay in the brooder for just a little bit longer. Dawn says, I have around 12 to 15 chigger bites. No new ones today. Yeah, that's on the verge of being pretty bad. 12 to 15, I guess it's doable. The good thing is they don't usually last all that long. They usually kind of go away within just a couple of days. But still, that just sheer numbers is what makes them bad. All right, where's the rest of the chat? How many people we got in here? We got 26 people in here so far. So not a ton of people yet, but which is okay. It's fine. What else is going on in the world today? All kinds of things going on in the world. Let's see. Freight Holler says, when my quail got around 8 weeks, the rooster got really loud, so I separated out the hens and kept one rooster with them, and the other 3 roosters I put in a tractor, and they love it. Well, awesome. That works out pretty well. I usually process birds around 8 weeks, so I get rid of all the extra roosters at about 8 weeks, put them in the freezer. But anyway, yeah, keeping them in a tractor, that works fine too. Rabbit Homesteading says the alpha-gal syndrome, however you spell it, I don't know how to spell it either, says it's actually some allergy of a carbohydrate found in red meat. Fish is okay to eat, from what I just heard some experts say in a podcast. I've heard that too. When I say no animal, like no mammal or chicken even. I don't think you can have chicken. Of course, it affects different people differently, and sometimes it's not a permanent thing. Sometimes it is a permanent thing. Sometimes people get over it. Sometimes they don't. But basically, no red meat, no butter, no milk, no cheese. I mean, those are the ones enough to make me say I don't want it. But that would be so bad. Um, Andy Rabbit says the beet venom cream helps with. I don't know what that. I don't know if that's what you meant to say because I don't know what that is. But maybe that's a typo if you're typing fast on the phone or something. I don't know what beet venom cream is, but we'll find out here in a minute probably. Caesar says I got my second set of eggs in the incubator. Awesome. Hopefully I'm assuming, sorry, I got distracted. So awesome. Hopefully you have a good hatch rate there, Caesar. Hopefully it goes well. So I'm assuming you're talking about the cream that helps with chigger bites. I'm guessing, Andy Rabbit. And then Andy Rabbit says Rabbit is okay with it. B. Oh, bee venom. Okay, so bee venom cream helps with what, alpha gal? Is that what you're saying? And you can have rabbit if you have alpha gal. I think that's what you're saying. So and Tears here says hello to everyone from Douglas County, Oregon. I hope everyone is doing well tonight. I am. Hopefully you are too. Rabbit Homesteading says beta gal syndrome makes you allergic to greens and fast food. Just kidding. Yeah, I probably need something that makes me allergic to fast food. Actually, I don't eat all that much fast food. So, I mean, there was a time where I ate more, but I don't eat all that much. Oh, okay. So Andy Rabbit's saying bee venom helps with chigger bites. Okay, there you go. So, okay, maybe. I don't know. I've never used bee venom for anything. Keone says, I've got 2 does due to kindle on the 12th. I keep them in the basement once born during extreme temps. Good luck on that. Hopefully you have a really good kindling. And yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. Keep them in the basement during the high temperatures. I did not do that. With my last litter, and it was summertime with those tamucks, and they all made it. I didn't lose any, so apparently they are pretty heat tolerant. I do need to get out there and give them some water tonight. I kind of forgot to do that before I started the live. I had 2 bowls in there that I was watering them in, and they've chewed one of them down to where it won't even hold water anymore. Really, I mean, that tall on the side, so it's worthless. So now they got 1 water bowl, and they tend to dump it out. And by the next morning, they're just like dying of thirst. So I've been trying to water them twice a day right now. So much joy says, found out my buck has ear mites today. Thank you, Chris, for your video from a few years ago. Just what I needed today. Well, hey, I'm glad you found that and you found it helpful because ear mites really aren't that hard to get rid of. The rabbits do not like, things being put in their ears. They'll definitely protest a little bit, but it will get rid of them. And I ended up going with the spray olive oil stuff. It's so much easier than trying to put, like with an eyedropper, trying to put drops of oil in their ear. And I think it works just as well. Andy Rabbit says rabbit is good if you have alpha gal. Okay. Got it. Is it alpha gout? No, I think it's alpha gal, isn't it? I don't know how it's spelled. But yeah, I imagine rabbit would be okay. But I think most of the time chicken's out. I think eggs are out. I think cheese. But again, it depends. Some people get affected a little bit differently. Life Done Cheap with Lee says, hey, everyone, looking for different ways to cook duck. I'm thinking of smoking one. Good idea. I haven't eaten a lot of duck, so I don't really know, honestly, if smoked. I mean, I assume smoked would be fine, but I don't really know. It might dry out a little bit, but we'll let somebody with more experience answer that question. And there's Brian Allen says, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. Thank you for joining. Rabbit Homesteading says, LMAO, I just read your shirt. Oh, yeah, my Surely Not Everybody Was Kung Fu Fighting shirt. So, yeah, that's one of my favorites. Tony with the hard last name from Toronto is here. Good to see you. I still haven't figured out how to pronounce your last name, but I haven't made that much of an effort at it either because I just figure you know who I'm talking to whenever I say Tony. As far as I know, I think you're the only Tony here, the only one with the in the username Tony anyway. So there may be somebody else whose real name is Tony, but they go by something else. I don't know. Could be. So much joy says had 2 does Kindle last week. The first litter of 7 all have survived, and the doe looks great. My other doe surprises me with only 2. Fire ants killed them. Has anyone dealt with this? The poor things. I've not dealt with fire ants since I've had the rabbits. When I lived in Texas, I dealt with fire ants, so I'm well aware of what they are, and they suck. They're terrible thing. But I have not dealt with them with my rabbits. So sorry to hear that. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I used to live in East Texas. I was in Nacogdoches. So, yeah, well aware of fire ants. They make some, there's a, oh, what's it called? There's a fire ant poison kind of stuff that you put in. I can't remember what it's called. It gets great reviews. What is it called? I can't remember which one it is. I don't know. I do have kind of a funny story about that, though. I don't remember which one it was. It was supposed to work great. Keone says orthine works awesome. So much joy says, thanks. I was devastated they died that way. And this was her second litter. She had 6 her first time. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, unfortunately, that's part of raising animals. You're going to lose some from time to time. And just keep going. I'm sure her next litter is going to be great. So orthine is supposed to work really well from Keone. That's not the one I've heard of. I mean, I believe it probably works great. But I can't remember the one that I heard that was so great because I don't have fire ants here, so I didn't make a point of remembering it. And Keone says lots of people use Andro, but it is a bait style. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure which one it was. I'd have to look at it. I mean, if I find it, I'll let you know, but I can't remember what it was. Anyway, the funny story about fire ants, when I lived in Texas, there was a guy that I worked with there, not necessarily the smartest guy in the world, but he was like, you know how you get rid of fire ants? I said, how do you do that? He says, you go out there and you pee on their mound. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, it's something about the ammonia in your urine gets rid of them. And I'm like, well, why don't you just pour ammonia on them? And he got real confused look on his face for a minute. He goes, well, I never thought of that. Going out there peeing on all those in his yard. And anyway, it was funny to me. Lone Wolf says, if you're going to have livestock, then you're going to have dead stock too, was the best advice I got when I started out. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's going to happen. I mean, there's just nothing you can do about it, unfortunately. The Aquatic News Network says, howdy, Earthlings. Hey, how are you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Don says, we don't have fire ants here. We don't have them here either. One of the best things about moving out of Texas, actually. Texas was an all right state. I don't mean it like, I was glad to get out of there. This is home, so I'm glad to be back home, and also glad to be away from fire ants. They were terrible. But Texas wasn't bad. Where I lived in Texas, it was a pretty decent little community. I liked it. Desert Homestead says, so I definitely did not find a nest of Gamble's quail eggs in my garden, and I didn't put eggs in the incubator. If they were to live to 8 weeks old, would you set free? And how? I heard they need aviary, not hutch. So Gamble quail, huh? I couldn't tell you honestly. I would think that if you can get them, I would think you probably I would probably just release them at that point and let them go because they're a wild bird. I mean, they should be able to fend for themselves. But I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about care of Gamble quail, if they're any different than anything else. Good luck on hatching, or not hatching, I guess, if you didn't do that. I had should have got this on camera. My tarps I've got rolled up on my rabbit shed, got rolled up and clamped right now, just sitting up there, and I only pull them down when it's like severe storms or something like that. Well, I was out there at 5:30 in the morning. It's still dark out. I got a little headlamp that I go out there and water and feed so I can see what I'm doing. And I heard something, I thought, in the tarp. So, it's all rolled up, and I'm standing like, it's rolled up this way. So the opening's over here. So I kind of walked over there and I kind of looked in there, and this bird comes flying out of there right in my face. It scared the heck out of me. Built a little nest in there. I don't know. I think it was a wren, or it's a wren or a finch. I'm not really sure which one. A small bird had some little eggs in there. I don't know if they've hatched yet. This was probably a couple of weeks ago, so they probably hatched by now. But I don't know, honestly. But still, it was pretty funny. You should have been out there watching me jump at 5:30 in the morning. Man, that thing really got me. I didn't scream, but I probably, oh my gosh, something like that. I don't know, but I'm not that animated. But yeah, it was it was crazy. Anyway, so much joy says, I don't like to use poison because I have cats around, but thanks for the help, guys. I've sprayed white vinegar around the cages and have kept spilled feed off the ground. They haven't come back yet. Good luck. I hope they don't. Let's see. So much joy says fire ants hurt too. Oh yeah, indeed. And they're like, it's like they get a whole bunch of them on you before, and then they send out the signal, all of them at once, attack. And then just because you don't even know, you don't even realize you have fire ants crawling up your leg, and then all of a sudden you're getting bit and stung all down your leg. It's the worst. Yeah, fire ants suck. Yeah, they're so bad. Oh, how are we doing on time? We got 20 minutes in already. Look at that. Time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? All right, we need some more chat coming on here, so you guys give me something to talk about. I've told you all my good stories that happened. So much joy says, have some bites on me currently. They're brutal in the garden. Yeah, that was my experience with them too. And you couldn't hardly walk, 20 yards in any direction without running into a fire ant mound. I mean, they're just everywhere. Karen C says, do you go hunting at all? Yeah, I do hunting. I deer hunt and I turkey hunt primarily. I like to squirrel hunt every once in a while, but I haven't done it in several years. So those are the things that I hunt for. Deer season's coming up a couple of months from now. Bow season kind of opens up like in September, but I usually don't go at all because it's still too hot and bugs, and you can't really wear bug spray because it would, the deer will smell it and be, not come near you. But yes, I do some hunting. It'll be probably October before I get out. I have a crossbow so I can hunt during bow season. I'm no good with a regular bow, so I just use a crossbow. My city, actually, the city I live in, Joplin, Missouri, is just recently voted and added, and to allow, they voted to allow it, deer hunting within city limits with a bow only. No crossbows, a regular bow on 1 acre or more of private property with permission. So that's kind of interesting. That kind of makes me want to get a little bit better with a bow so I could go hunt during that. But I have not done that yet. So much joy says, have to wear rubber boots. No such thing as going barefoot, and gloves on your hands. Yeah, I don't really go barefoot outside anyway. I just don't do it. I'll step on something and we don't even have fire ants, but there's something to step on and injure yourself with. Don says, I'm trying to cut back on paper towel usage in the house, looking into the unpaper towels. I think most of what I have seen are not all that great. Interesting. I'm not familiar with that. Let me see what that is. Unpaper towels. What is that? They're just washable, reusable. Yeah. I mean, why not, right? When I was a kid, we didn't really use many paper towels. I mean, we had some, but we used like dish towels as basically as napkins, when we ate. We just used dish towels kind of to use like that. So we didn't have a lot of paper towels. Now I'm bad. I mean, we go through paper towels. I use them all the time. So I'm probably bad about doing it. I may have to look into some of that stuff too. So and Tara says, my Raising Quail in Aviaries online course is available on my website now. Going to talk about it on my live after this. Well, awesome. Hopefully that goes well for you. everybody go check that out. I don't know a lot about raising them in aviaries, so there is your source of information if you're looking to do that. Mike B says, just got word my share eggs are on the way. Says, I can't wait. If my numbers are halfway decent, I should have 15 hens, more than enough for my family of 4. Well, awesome. Congratulations on some eggs being on their way. Hopefully you do have a great hatch rate, and everything goes well. I'm sure it will. So much joy is saying cool to something. I'm not sure what exactly. It probably made sense at the time, but I've lost track. Aquatic News Network says fire ants are awful. I had to tear down a shed to rebuild it bigger. And while I was doing it and holding stuff up on the roof, I had loads of them attacking my feet and legs. Yeah, they're the worst thing ever. I hate them. Rabbit Homestead says completely off topic, but I was driving with completely off topic, but I was driving and a turtle in the other lane get closer to it, and a mink ran out in front of me and circled the turtle, freaked out, and ran back in front of me, and you hit it. Oh, no. It circled the turtle and then freaked out and ran back in front of you. Oh, no, that's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, I wouldn't be too terribly upset about it. There's more than one mink out there. Actually, we saw some mink. It was 4th of July weekend that I took the day off, Monday off, after the 4th, and we went and did some fishing. So we floated down the river in the kayaks and we're fishing. And we saw a mink over there across the river from us. He was real close. He was chasing a butterfly around. It was kind of cool to watch. And then we saw another one just a little bit further down the road. Mike B says, I hope everyone's doing well and having a great night. God bless us all. God is good. Amen. God is good. What did I miss from Dawn? Oh, you know what? I've got the chat turned on. I got to turn it on live chat so I get everything. I missed something from Dawn, apparently. I don't know what I missed, but So and Terror says, where are we at? There we go. So and Terror said, I've heard good things about them, Dawn, and I don't know what we're talking about because I had the paper towels. Oh, the unpaper towels. Okay, I did see that. Okay, good. I didn't miss it. I was just confused on what we were talking about. Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard of that before. They look like just, why not just use, like I said, like dish towel, basically? I don't know. Anyway, Buck Reynolds says, put the legs on your rabbit's hutch in some cans and put some oil in them. When the ants get in it, they will die. That's a good idea, Buck. It's a real good idea. So much joy says to Rabbit Homesteading, oh, poor thing. It happens, but it's still awful. Yeah, indeed. Aquatic News Network says Swedish dish towels are great, thin and washable. Interesting. I'll have to go check those out, too. I've never heard of Swedish. Look, there it comes right up. I just typed in SW and boom, Swedish dishcloths, huh? Oh, yeah, there's a 10-pack of them at Walmart for $5.97. You can't beat that, can you? So, and Tara says, thanks, Chris. Well, you're absolutely welcome. Karen C says, my freezer is full of deer. Recently shot my first fallow deer buck. Awesome. Well, congratulations on that. I'm not familiar with fallow deer. We don't have them here, but that's good to have a freezer full for sure. County says purple coneflower leaves salve or poultice, chewed leaf, applied to insect bites, snake bites, spider bites, soothes the pain, stops the venom. Black-eyed Susan is in the same family. Interesting. I'm not familiar with. I know what purple coneflower is. My wife grows it, and I know what black-eyed Susan are too. But I didn't know they had those properties to them. Plantain's also another one. Just common, broadleaf plantain that grows out in your yard. Well, it grows in our yard here anyway. It grows everywhere around here. Really poor soil usually. But it can be used as a salve as well, and it does a pretty good job. I don't know about stopping venom, but it does bring relief to insect bites and things like that. So and Tara says to Kearney, do you have a pressure canner? Are you talking about pressure canning some of the deer meat? Maybe, I guess. Dawn says the trouble with bought unpaper towels, most of them do absorb spills / water. The cost of cotton flannel to make them is $15 a yard, equals 10. And of course, you would want 3 times that amount. Yeah, but it's a one-time purchase, right? I mean, not necessarily one time, but they last a very long time. You just wash them and reuse them over and over again, right? So, I mean, yeah, more expensive, but in the long run, probably not. I'm very picky on paper towels too. I like the Viva paper towels, and those are the only ones I buy. They're the best ones in my opinion. Aquatic News Network says, I wouldn't believe anything you hear about stopping neurotoxins like the majority of snake venom with any holistic anything. Move as quickly as you can to the hospital and keep it elevated there. Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one. A lot of those holistic healing things are kind of a little bunk, and you get a lot of people that just really exaggerate the use of native plants and things like that. There's use to them, don't get me wrong, I know that, but it's not nearly as much as they make it out to be sometimes. Aquatic News Network says, and I'm all about holistic and homemade stuff, but don't play around when it comes to snake bites. Yeah, I agree. Rabbit Homesteading says, I think mink eat turtles. It was sniffing it out. I think mink eat just about everything they can that's smaller than them. They're not too picky, I don't think. Aquatic News Network says, shock doesn't help snake bites either, nor does an extraction kit for venom. Do not tie the area off with a tourniquet either. That localizes the venom and will cause more tissue damage. Yeah, I agree. And not only that, but usually you're going to swell up a little bit. I mean, you might, say you get bit on your arm, you try to tourniquet it off, you might lose your arm. That's just not, you don't want to do that. Life Done Cheap with Lee says, last month someone here in Ohio let out 2,000 minks from a fur farm. Oh, no. Now there goes all your chickens and everything else around the area, right? So Much Joy says, Tukioni says, I love to see the herbal remedies. Yes, the echinacea, I think it is, neutralizes the poison of bites and stings. And apple cider vinegar wash too. Black-eyed Susan poultice is good for rattlesnake. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know that I buy that completely. I mean, it might relieve some of the pain and that kind of stuff, but I don't know that it's going to really do much to neutralize venom or anything. JC's activity says diatomaceous earth for fire ants. That's what Ants Canada uses for a natural solution. Yeah, that'd probably be a good remedy for them. The only problem with that is if it gets wet, you got to basically redo it, right? But yeah, it'd probably work. Don says, to So and Terror, sorry I missed that. I was not on the live too. I'm glad he read it out loud. So Much Joy says, an extractor is great for removing any poison for bites and stings. Thankfully, have never had a snake bite in our family. Thank God. I've never been bitten by a venomous snake. I've been bitten by lots of snakes, but never a venomous one. I've been bitten by lots of things. Snakes. Ferret one time bit me. A rabbit. I had a rabbit nip me the other day. I mean, just about anything. I've been bit by it probably. Turtle. I've been bit by a turtle. So and Terra says, Rabbit Homestead mink eat everything. If they can decapitate it, they will then eat it. Yep, I think you're right. Don says, I checked out the Swedish dishcloths. They aren't at all like paper towels, more like for doing dishes and scrubbing, not for your face, fingers, cleaning things. Well, I don't know. I mean, I imagine they would work pretty well for that. Like I said, when I was a kid, we used dish towels basically for that kind of stuff. Just wipe your hands off while you're eating and stuff, and it worked fine. Rabbit Homestead says, also the mink was like maybe 3 miles from Ted Nugent's old mink ranch. LOL. Okay. Don says, I have purple coneflower. Echinacea is the taproot. Oh, echinacea is the taproot of the purple coneflower. I didn't know that. Coneflowers my wife likes coneflowers a lot, so she's got multiple kinds of coneflowers growing. She has a whole native, native plant. Yeah, I guess it is native plant garden up front, and it's just, it's like a jungle. It's just, there's so much there. It's crazy. The pollinators love it. I mean, they just swarm to that stuff. Bees and flies and all kinds of stuff, man. They're all over it. And it's somewhat drought resistant, so it does pretty well. It's all plants native to our area. And they flower. They look pretty. It's pretty cool actually. So much joy says JC's activities. Says, oh, thanks. I'll remember that. Found out a mix of liquid soap, water, and 1 tablespoon of molasses gets rid of fire ants in potted plants. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So much joy says, yes, I use powdered plantain on my fire ant bites this very afternoon. Works great. No longer stings. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it'll definitely relieve the pain and helps with bug bites and all that things. But I'm not so sure it would work all that great on like a snake bite. I mean, that's a little different thing. S.O. Swanson says paper towels are for the wealthy. Haha. Yeah, maybe. Don says you could buy 100% cotton flannel cut with pinking shears, no hemming needed or sewing. They just last years. They should last years. Yeah, that's a good idea, I guess. Rabbit Homestead says broadleaf plantain instantly applied to honeybee sting to me makes it never happen in holding on sting for like 15 minutes. I did my own test with that and honeybee stings. There you go. Well, I didn't. Yeah, I mean, I imagine it would help with a honeybee sting. To me, honeybee stings aren't that bad anyway, so, but that makes sense. Mike B says, have you ever tried growing corn? It's my favorite thing to grill. I was wondering how many plants I'd need to produce 75 ears. Probably about at least 50, I would say. I mean, my experience with corn, well, I don't know. They probably produce, I have grown corn before, and sometimes it does great and sometimes it doesn't do great. If you can, don't have too much of a pest problem, you can probably get about 2, maybe 3 ears off each stalk, but probably I would count on maybe like 2-ish ears on each stalk. I don't typically grow corn because I do like corn, but we don't eat a lot of it, and it's so cheap. I mean, I can go, like right now, I can go to the grocery store and buy like 3 ears for like $1. I mean, it's like $1, it's not even $1 an ear, so it's pretty easy I don't really bother growing it. It doesn't come out that much better to me than like going and buying it at the store. So much joy says extractors can help remove the poison on the way to the ER. They don't do a whole lot for snake bites, but other things I can imagine they would work really well for. But no, extractors don't really do much to remove venom from you when you're bit by a snake. Don says, I think we waste $30 a month on those paper towels. I don't know that we're quite that much, but maybe close. I don't know. Don says to Mike B, your seed you buy will tell you how many ears per stalk of corn. Some are 1 ear, 2 ears, or 3 to 4. Yeah, that's under ideal conditions, though. I don't know that I would. I mean, if it says it's going to give 2 ears, I'd shoot for at least 20% more than what you think you might need. So much joy says, but of course, always get to the ER with snake bites. That's one thing I totally agree on. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, always go to the ER if you get bit by a venomous snake. Here's the thing. Most of the time, and this is, I mean, you can look up statistics if you want to, but roughly 80% of the people that get bit by venomous snakes are either trying to catch it or kill it when they get bit. If you just leave it alone, chances are you're not going to get bit by it. Very, very seldom. Probably the most dangerous one would be the cotton or the copperheads that we have around here. They're not super aggressive. Their defense is camouflage, so they tend to just hide in the leaves and stuff, and you don't even see them. You end up stepping on them and get bit that way. But other than that, most of the venomous snakes are not really that big of an issue. Just leave them alone when you see them, and they'll go on their way, and you go on your way, and you're fine. Aquatic News Network says, here's the thing. If somebody tries that and they heard it from you, you are then responsible for that person losing their foot or hand if it doesn't work. That's why I wouldn't suggest for snake bites. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I don't know if you'd be considered responsible. You okay there, dog? I think he's snoring, moaning anyway. County says, I cured my cat from a brown recluse spider bite, rotting flesh. The vet failed for weeks. The black-eyed Susan cured him. Just saying, I don't trust Big Med despite having 2 siblings that are doctors. Well, I mean, wouldn't say I trust them with everything necessarily, but they're generally pretty good at treating like trauma, that kind of stuff, the instant stuff. It's, the long-term disease and stuff that sometimes they kind of, and, Still, most of those are going to do a good job with treating most of that. But there are some of those things that I definitely think. I think they over medicate. I think they over I don't know, prescribe things. Over what do you call it? What do you call it um, when they find out what you have and they tell you, I can't remember the word for it all of a sudden. Good grief. Um, anyway, I think they do have a tendency to just jump to a conclusion on what you might have and start treating you with medication that you don't necessarily need all the time. I'm on a statin right now, and I'm not really sure I need to be on a statin, but I am trusting the doctor more than myself, because I have not been through any kind of education on it other than what I hear people online maybe say. But who knows who those guys are? Why should I trust them more than the doctor? And so it's kind of a weird thing. But so much joy says, I just know from experience that all the neutralizes the poison for red wasp, hornet, red velvet ant, and black widow. Okay. Aquatic News Network says, some insect bites, yes, I've used some things that have helped with that, but please, y'all, please do not do that. If you get bit by a snake, go to the hospital. I agree. So much joy says, if I was bitten by my previous doe once, she bit down like I was a carrot. Ouch. Yeah, luckily the other day when I got bit, it wasn't that big of a deal. The rat, it was just nibbling. It wasn't really biting hard. So much joy says, lucky I can't get any purple coneflower to grow so far. Depends on the snake too, for sure. The snake too. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, we're talking venomous snakes. If you get bit by a venomous snake, don't worry about what kind it is exactly. Just go to the doctor. But learn what your venomous snakes are if that's an issue, because we only have the only ones we have here in Missouri are copperheads, water moccasins, and rattlesnakes. Rattlesnakes are pretty easy to identify. They're not very common. Don't see them that often, but they're pretty easy. They got a rattle. And the copperheads, copperheads are pretty easy too. They've got a pretty distinctive pattern. To me, they're beautiful. I think they're just gorgeous. But they're pretty easy to identify. Water moccasins, to me, they're not that difficult, but there are a lot of water snakes that kind of resemble water moccasins, and some people have a hard time telling them apart. Water snakes in general are like 90% of what you see, but everybody thinks they're a water moccasin, and they're harmless. But still, if you don't know, just leave it alone, and you'll be okay. Mike B says, thank you, Chris. I know it takes a lot of effort to come on week after week. You are the main reason a lot of us are raising our own food. Some of us even raise in a spare room in our house. Thanks, bud. You're absolutely welcome. It's not as much effort as you would think. But yeah, I appreciate that. Let's see. Desert Homestead says, I have the bug bite thing. It's a suction syringe that gets the stinger and venom to reduce the effects. I use for bee stings and mosquito bites, not snakes. Haven't needed to try on scorpions yet. Yeah, I haven't actually been bitten by I haven't been bitten by a recluse or a black widow, or stung by a scorpion, so I haven't had to deal with those. Now, I've dealt with wasp stings and bee stings and things like that, and they're not that big of a deal to me. Mine are swelling for a little while, then it goes away. It's not that big a deal. But yeah, I'm sure that those things would work pretty well for that. That would make sense. Keone says, Melaleuca for wasps, bee, hornet, yellow jacket stings, stops it quick. Yeah, what I usually do is just deal with it. It's never really that bad. So Much Joy says, the Aquatic News Network, of course, I agree. I'd still go to the ER for a snake. I just know that if I could do something to help on the way for a sibling, then I will, and that and a whole lot of prayer. Yep, that's probably good advice. So and Tara says, look up the type of corn you are growing. Some have 1 ear per stalk. Others will have more, usually 2. You're right. I agree. Mike B says, random question. Random question of the night. Do you all prefer sweet tea or lemonade? I'm a sweet tea fella. Unless I'm having barbecue, then I prefer lemonade. I'm pretty much always sweet tea over lemonade. But I honestly don't drink sweet tea all that often. I'm a soda pop junkie. And I never really want lemonade. I don't really care for citrus much. Sometimes like lemon in my tea, which is not a lot, just a little. But yeah, I don't do lemonade really. Aquatic Newsmaker says, gotcha, I agree with that. There has been a lot of new information to come out recently with snakes and their venom. I have a friend that is really high up in the herpetological scene and keeps me up to date. Interesting. Yeah, when I was younger, I wanted to be a herpetologist. I, at one time, had about 40 different snakes. I was breeding them. I was all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, it's an area that I have, at least a little bit of experience in. So Much Joy says, unless you live on a farm with a pond and a creek and woods, we see a lot of moccasins and copperheads. Been here 7 years, and thankfully we are all fine. And I've never even seen a rattler. I've only seen rattlesnakes in the wild maybe twice in my life. Several copperheads. See those not real frequently, but it's not uncommon. And water moccasins, sometimes, not a lot. Occasionally, but I see a whole lot of banded water snakes, and they look a little like a water moccasin. That's what almost everybody that sees them when I'm on the rivers says it's a moccasin. And no, it's not a water moccasin. It's a banded water snake. But they're super aggressive. Those water snakes, super aggressive. They'll strike at you if you get close to them and start pestering them. So and Tara says, yep, usually males between 16 and 24 years old. Also, ages car insurance is highest on. It's for a reason. Oh, you're talking about the people getting bit by venomous snakes trying to catch it or kill it, and they're generally males between 18 and 24 or 16 and 24 years old. Yeah, that's probably true. Franklin says, I had a chuckle when I read your T-shirt. Thanks for sharing it. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's one of my favorites. How are we doing on time? We got 14 minutes left. Aquatic News Network says, same here in the creeks. Copperheads will dart off in random directions, but that doesn't mean that they're coming after you. They just panic. But you are correct. Most bites are from stepping on. Yeah, well, most bites, like I said, happen when somebody's trying to kill or catch the snake. But other than that, it's usually because they're camouflaged. Yeah, you step on them accidentally, didn't know they were there. S.O. Swanson says, diagnose. That's the word I was looking for. I don't know why. Every once in a while I block out a completely common word. I know it. I just can't think of it all of a sudden. Yeah, I think they do have a tendency to overdiagnose things. Aquatic News Network says, picking them up or trying to handle them and not knowing what they are. Most of the water moccasins that people think they are seeing are more than likely plain-bellied water snakes. Yeah, around here it's banded water snakes mostly, but yeah, that's pretty common. Aquatic News Network says, plain-bellied water snakes are a little ornery and will bite you if you mess with them, but it's non-venomous. Yep. Aquatic News Network says, I don't trust Big Pharma either. They are the enemy to me. Yeah, I don't know if I'd go so far as to say enemy, but I don't know that they always have our best interest in heart. Aquatic News Network says, bulk snakes make a hiss that sounds like a rattle as well. Bulk. I think you mean bull snakes, right? Yeah, well, there's lots of colubrids like corn snakes and I don't know if I've ever heard garter snakes do it, but corn snakes will shake their tail in the leaves and it sounds like a rattlesnake. They do it on, I think it's a intentional thing, that's a defense, is to leave me alone. I might be a dangerous snake. And lots of those, colubrid species, that they all mimic that same behavior. And garter snakes aren't actually a colubrid. They're a Thanopsis, I think. I can't remember what species they are out of hand. Anyway, the Aquatic News Network says the best way you can learn to tell the difference between a venomous and non-venomous water snake is by their face, not a diamond shape or anything like that, but bars below their mouth. Yeah, you're talking about pit vipers for sure. But that's not true. That doesn't hold true with like coral snakes, which are in some of the, like down in Texas, I believe, and eastern United States. I think they're pretty common. So they're a pretty. There's a milk snake that looks a lot like a coral snake. I mean, they both have that yellow, black, and red banding. The rhyme is, if it's yellow touches black, it's a friend of Jack, and yellow touches red, or red touches yellow. I'm sorry, red touches black, it's a friend of Jack. Red touches yellow, kill a fellow. So if a red touches a yellow, it's a coral snake. They're not a pit viper, so they don't have that heat sensing stuff right below their nose like what you're talking about there. Rabbit Homestead says, Can you make lemonade out of buckhorn sumac berries? Oh, you can make lemonade. Well, wouldn't it be sumacade instead of lemonade then? But tastes like lemonade, I'm guessing, is what you're saying. Um, Desert Homestead says we have a lot of rattles here, and the adults tend to do a dry bite for defense and save venom for hunting. Babies pump all the venom when biting, and it's the same potency as adults. Both equal a bad day. Yeah, for sure. It isn't. Yeah, you're right. It's not uncommon for babies to be a little more dangerous because they do have a tendency to inject more venom whenever they bite. And Aquatic News Network says if they have bars below their mouth, black bars that go down their jaw, they are non-venomous. If there are no bars below their mouth, it's a water moccasin. Oh, I see what you're saying. That was different than what I thought you were talking about, is the little on the sides of their face, the pits. Of course, you don't want to get that close to look at them just to find out. But yeah, most of the time, you know, your venomous snakes, at least around here, like I said, they are going to have a little bit more of a pronounced diamond-shaped head, although plain-bellied water snakes kind of do as well, and they're not venomous, but better to mistake a non-venomous snake for a venomous one than the other way around. They also have like cat-shaped pupil, you know, like the cat eye pupils, like that. But again, you don't want to get that close to them to look at them. Just look up pictures of what they look like. Learn those for, you know, whatever they are, 4 snakes that in your area that are venomous. And once you know what they look like, you can be sure that anything else that doesn't look like that is non-venomous. Unless you live in Florida, where, you know, people have released all kinds of different snakes and you don't know. You may have something that's not even native to the area around there. So Much Joy says, there's water snakes here that totally looks like a water moccasin. You just have to check for the arrow-shaped head if you're trying to identify. Yeah, so Swanson says, I won't get close enough to look at bars, Tommy. I don't blame you. Aquatic News Network says, I showed Verna her live a couple of weeks ago, the difference between venomous and non-venomous. Oh, on her live. But I guarantee you the shape of the head or skills or eyes, I think it means, will not give you a proper ID on a water snake. Well, not necessarily that alone. Aquatic News Network says, Steve, if you're walking around and it sneaks up on you, you're already close enough to see its mouth. Yeah. Andy Rabbit made it home. Good. Glad you made it. Aquatic News Network says, Right Desert, the babies don't know how to regulate their venom. Life Done Cheap with Lee says, if you get bit by a snake, rub jalapeno juice in your eye. You'll forget all about the snake bite. He says, just joking. Don't actually do that. No, that's an old trick my grandpa used to use, right? He said, I'll show you a trick, take your mind off that pain, whatever was hurting. Didn't mean it in a good way, I guess. S.O. Swanson says, Tommy, my flight is pretty darn quick. I don't know what that was in reference to exactly. I guess running from the snake. Aquatic News Network says, LOL, same Steve, I still jump when I see them. Snakes don't bother me. I understand them, so they don't bother me. Like I said, I've been bitten by lots of snakes. Never a venomous one, but a whole lot of different black snakes, garter snakes. Garter snakes don't usually bite, though. They usually will expel a musty kind of smell, and you know it's kind of nasty smelling, but that's about it. So Much Joy says, or maybe they can, but I haven't always heard they release it all in one bite. Oh, I've always heard they release it all in one bite. Yeah, maybe not all, but I mean, it's pretty common for the babies to release more venom than the adults do. That's not an uncommon thing. It's not a hard and fast rule, though. So and Tara says, my old neighbor is an ER nurse, and she recommended going to the ER if bit by a black widow. Apparently, the effects can start several hours after the bite. Yeah, for sure. Brown recluses can be bad, too. Now, luckily, neither one of those are, like, they're not super aggressive. They're not hunting you out. But if you happen to, you know, have one in your clothes when you put it on, that's how most people get bit. Yeah, you're best going to the doctor for it. I don't know if you need to go to the ER, but go to the doctor because they can give you shots for it. Otherwise, it can be pretty bad. Not everybody has reactions to brown recluse, though. The Aquatic News Network says, I don't know if it's all, but the panic and release whatever comes out. Oh, if they panic but they panic, release whatever comes out. Oh yeah, I get what you're saying. So Much Joy says, yep, they do that too when we're at the state park, say to watch the moccasins, and it's always a water snake. LOL. Better safe than sorry, though. Yeah, for sure. And you don't want to handle a water snake anyway. Like I said, they're super aggressive. They'll bite the heck out of you. They're non venomous, but still, you don't want to handle them. They're a mess. Dawn says, when I fell off the boat dock, there were about 30 water moccasins under it. I took off one way walking out ASAP, and they swam out on the other side. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you're lying. I just find it hard to believe there's 30 of them underneath the boat. I mean, that just seems like they don't den up like that. It's not a common thing at all. So I mean, maybe. I'm not saying you're lying about it. I just from Missouri. You got to show me. I don't. I just think it's hard to believe there would be that many. Maureen says, hello, everyone. I'm picking up my rabbit soon. Hutch is almost finished. Well, congratulations. Hopefully you got a good rabbit coming and your hutch gets done in time. Don says, we have copperheads. Hubby got bit trying to pick up a piece of sheet metal it was under, I guess sunning itself. Yeah, I'm always careful whenever I pick up anything that's been laying on the ground, like boards, sheet metal, any of that kind of stuff. That's a great place for snakes to hide. So yeah, I'm always careful when I go to pick those up just to make sure there's nothing under there. Most of the time, most of the time, if it's it's not anything that's going to hurt me. If it is a snake, it's usually non-venomous, but still, better safe than sorry. Buck says, well, I hunt rattlesnakes in the spring, I think it is, and if I get bit, I'm going to the hospital. Yep, that's what you do. Don says he almost didn't make it to the hospital in time. It was a quarter mile out of the quarry, then drove all the way to the hospital. He was off work for a week. Yeah, it can be, venomous snake bites can be pretty bad. Currency says, if anyone is scared of snakes, don't come to Australia. Everything wants to kill you. Ha ha. Yeah, that's no kidding. I know that. Brown snakes, red belly snakes, also box jellyfish, and even a jellyfish as big as a fingernail up in northern Australia. Yeah. Yeah, I know. There's lots of things that will kill you in Australia, right? So Much Joy says, any tips on mice in my rabbitry? We have some cats, but I finally had to just put the free choice feed up at night, even when the does are nursing. Don't like it, but I let them have feed all day until 9. So, okay, so I bought these mouse traps. I can't remember what they're, Altry, I think is what they're called. They're in my Amazon shop. You can go look and get them. They're battery operated, 9-volt battery. It's like a little box basically where they can walk in the side, the little hole in the side they can walk in, and they do a great job. It basically, okay, I just got a text from somebody. I'll have to check it out here in a minute. Where are we at here? So yeah, anyway, there's a little hole in the side where they can go in. There's a metal plate back there. You put some peanut butter or something, just a little bit on the end, and they electrocutes them as they go in. It works fantastic. It blinks whenever it's been set off, so you know to empty it and reset it. The batteries last forever. It's the best mouse trap I've ever had. If you have a really big mouse problem, you're probably going to need like a couple of them, but they work great. David Lister says, and squeaking in at the last minute. You made it. Okay, good. Hey, I'm glad you made it. Good to see you. Aquatic News Network says, bull snakes. Yeah, okay, I got you. Aquatic News Network says, correct, several of them will shake their tail, even hognose. Yeah, hognose will. Hognose are crazy. Yeah, they're so funny to watch because they put on the biggest display. They'll flop around, act like they're dead, their tongue hanging out. If you flip them over, they flip back over. They are venomous, like you said, but they're rear fanged, and it's not. They don't inject venom through front fangs like most do, and it's a very mild venom. It's not really dangerous to humans at all. And they're rear fangs, so they basically the venom just kind of flows in their mouth. They use they're toad eaters, so they use those fangs basically to pop toads, and that's what they're for. So anyway, We got a whole bunch of chat that I didn't get to, but we're about out of time now. So I'm going to have to wrap this one up. If I missed it, I'm sorry. Sorry, I got distracted by a comment there, but I wish I could get to them all. I don't want to leave you guys unanswered, but it is time for me to wrap this one up tonight. So thank you all for joining, though. I appreciate that. We should be back next week. Don't see any reason why I won't be at this time. And until then, as always, God bless.